talk about is this is number one, a full line of cameras with, depending on which model you get of that camera, it's going to have the IVA license in it, or the IVA plus license information. Sorry, I had to unclick a box away from everything. Distracted me. Sorry. Or the IVA plus, which has more analytics in it. And we'll discuss how that's broken down for you. So, but first off, the feature of the cameras, because it's a full line of cameras, we've got 9 megapixel, 5 megapixel, 2 megapixel fisheye cameras. We've got our high impact ball cameras, bullet cameras, fixed focus cameras, varifocal cameras. And so when we look at the setup, you have a camera for really every situation. All right. So the cameras that have the IVA license include some analytics, including intrusion, line crossing, line counting, loitering, enter, exit, and tamper. Okay. So you have all the basic ones that people ask for all the time. The plus license includes those items, plus object removed, tailgating, directions, stopped, appear, disappear, object left. It has a lot of functionality in it as far as whether you choose an IVA, IVA plus, and like I said, we'll actually see a list of all the different models we have shortly. Some of them have true wide dynamic range or triple codec, so you get the benefits of H.265 and the ability to use up less bandwidth and less storage. Some of the cameras are cold start -40. We've had an extra cold winter, which means as you got farther north, it was extra cold. And these -40 cold start cameras will work even if they're rolling around the back of your truck and it's, heaven forbid, -40. You'll be able to plug the camera in, turn on, and it'll function. Okay. And that's a huge feature, as we can see by the way the cold weather creeped in, that it's a good feature to have. We have smart IR built in that's depending on the model, 50 feet to 140 feet with intelligent camera sync. And we have our clean view on the Dome product, which has this what we call a hydrophobic coating that repels water, dust, grease, all this other stuff that gets in the way of getting a good picture of it. We have smart DNR, 3D noise reduction, true day night on all but like one of the models, programmable privacy zone, backlight compensation, auto white balance. Some of the cameras, there's a few models that have built-in microphones and two-way audio. Some have alarm ins and outs. All of them have waterproof cabling. All of them are OMVIF Profile-S. Many of them are IK10 impact resistance and all carry our 5-year warranty. I see someone has already popped in with a question. I will answer the questions at the end of the webinar, so stay tuned for that. If it is relative to what we're doing, I will certainly try to answer the questions if I can. Again, here's a list of the cameras that we are releasing, either they're released now or be released in a few weeks, of all the different models. So we've got a couple fisheyes, a 5 and a 9 megapixel, it looks like. Yes. A couple bullet cameras, our low profile, small Vandal Dome, our Vandal ball cameras. And if you look, you got the different range of the IRs. Are they Starlight Plus? So you can have them run color and darkness. Are they true wide dynamic range? What are their different settings for either? You got the cold start cameras here, what accessories are for them. So this is a pretty complete list, and then we go to the next page. We got another Vandal ball. We got a Snap It camera, got some fixed focal lenses. And you'll hear my comments as we come up. On some of this stuff, I like a fixed focal versus a varifocal lens, but we have varifocal domes and other stuff coming out. All right. So this is not the end of it. We are going to release more cameras than that. So one of the first questions we got is, how do we add these cameras to Spectrum? So I'm just going to go right into this. What's great about Spectrum is Spectrum has auto discovery built in. So you go in, you wait for the camera to be discovered. So here we go. We got the camera being discovered right here. You go into the camera, and the first thing you do is you say, okay, I'm going to set up this camera. I want this camera to record. So you turn on the record, you choose your frame rate. I'm saying you should be about 14 frames a second or higher for increased accuracy with the analytics. So you could go to 18 frames a second, you can go to 20, you can go to 30. If you're at 10, 8, 9, 7, 5, you'll get less accuracy with the analytics. So that's one of the first things you do when you set up. One of the other things you can do, though, is go into the setup of the camera directly from Spectrum. Okay, so Spectrum has a built-in Chromium browser. You can go in, bring up your camera settings page. I'm just going to again move a window out of my way. That's not in your way because it's in my way. All right. And sorry about that. Come here, you. There we go. And you go right to your IVA menu. The IVA will already be enabled, and then you'll just have to go into the different steps we're going to talk about. So one of the first steps is camera placements. So camera placement is very important. The image on the left is going to be more accurate than the image on the right. You've got a top-down view, and you've got more separation between objects, so it's easier to identify the objects, okay? So a little higher, a little better top-down view is better than the one on the right, but we're going to use the one on the right. It's the camera. Set up a few cameras on our building here in Tampa. The poor folks at Belfer, we sit there and record them walking in and out of their building. But anyway, we set up the video analytics on the right, and that's the one we're gonna discuss. So one of the first things you do in Spectrum, besides setting your frames a second, is you set up your motion detection normally. You still want the camera to record on motion, record pretty accurately. So you still go in and say, okay, I want to, not have this palm tree setting things off. There's another tree over there on the right. We're going to mask off, and so on, and then set your motion sensitivity. So this way the camera is going to record normally, because Spectrum, if you want, is still going to record on motion. You can have it use the analytics to just record, but I would say to you, use the power of the motion detection in Spectrum and then do your analytics for sort of a deeper dive into what's in that particular video. So you got your frames per second set. We've got our motion areas set up. We've got our camera placed. All right. So the next step is our calibration. Okay. So the calibration menu is in your IVA menu. You click it. Sorry, you guys might hear some background noise. And you go in and you've set your different parameters. You enter your info. One is height, one is tilt, one is vertical field of view. Okay. So where do you find this information? Well, height, you use your tape measure, measure out the height of the camera. Your tilt, what you want to do with the tilt, and again, you guys can shoot me an email or ask me this. There's a lot of this information though on our website. I can send you a link. Is this grid, and we're going to talk about this more, is a 3D representation of a 2D image. Video is 2D, okay? So what we're doing is with these 3D images is, with this grid, is saying we've got a 6x6 view here, and we've got these height of people. We're going to talk about this in a minute. In order to get this more accurate, though, you have to know a couple parameters. One, of course, is the height of the camera. Again, tape measure. Your tilt is you want to get it so this is level like a floor. All right. And then the other one is vertical field of view. So where do you find that? I don't know where other manufacturers sort of keep this information. At Digital Watchdog, we have it on our specs page on the website and on the specifications. And so this is a varifocal. I have set this to wide, so it's a 2.8 millimeter, 2.7 millimeter lens. And so its horizontal field of view is 96 degrees to 31, depending on whether it's zoomed in, zoomed out. And I have it zoomed all the way out. So its vertical field of view is 70. Okay. And so you take that information and you put it in your thing to properly line up everything. And then we'll talk about the other aspects of the calibration. So you go to your rules, counter, calibration. We're going to go into the calibration menu here, and we can see we got our, what we call our mimics. Okay. We want to set our camera to the proper height. So you went out there, do your tape measure. It's 8 foot high, 12 feet high, 11 foot high. All right. You set your tilt and your height so that those grid is like a floor. And then you find something that is, you can measure the height of a person, and you bring those mimics to those points and see if they match up to where a person would be. Now, sometimes that might take a second person if it's a real open parking lot and there's just nothing there. or you could have like a ruler, or not a ruler, those are too short, yardstick out there to give you some idea of the view. But it's very important to get this right. It's kind of a good way to make sure you'll get accurate vehicle and person detection. So, again, so during the process, we've got this little green grid. You place the ground plane, okay? We put a number of these 3D shapes. I believe there's 3 mimics on there, and they represent a person that's about 5'10", which is your average height. And you move around the scene to make sure that they are close. You don't have to be 100% accurate, but they are close. But your height is very important, and your vertical field of view is important, because that will give you your, that'll allow you to line up your tilt, which is, again, is this grid lined up like a floor, okay? Because these are represent, again, 6 by 6. These represent a 5'10" person, and you get them lined up saying, okay, here's a couple guys in a parking lot. That looks about right. And if you're about right, you'll get some pretty accurate view. Okay. So again, we go to settings. We go to web page. And then we look at classifications. So for normal activity, and I am going to stop this right here once it goes in. There we go. For normal activity, the person and the vehicle are fine. You'll find, now again, you don't have to alert on clutter, but you'll see on the screen, it'll say clutter, and this could be leaves on a tree. This could be something on the ground that's moving around, like a small bush or something like that. So that one you can actually delete, so it won't detect it. It'll just say objects. Group of people, you can actually, depending on where it's located, above a door or looking in an area where you don't want, let's say, people to loiter, you can create a group of people and change these parameters a little bit. I'd say you could make it down to 20 square feet to 48 square feet, move them around in those ranges to get a better lineup of group of people, or too many people close together, because we're worried about social distancing. And so you can qualify that. Now that may require 2 sticks or two items, or take your mimics and move them in there and say, okay, that's about it. So that may require a little calibration. And I added one called truck, because we get a lot of trucks just on this road going by our office in Tampa, and they park in front of our building and block parking spaces, and people are honking and stuff like that. And so I actually have this set up. So if a truck is parked in this field of view, stops for more than a minute, so I didn't even do it like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, stop more than a minute, I get an alert on my phone. So I just added that in there. It's a little bigger than a car, okay, like what they call a vehicle, okay? And I set the speed, it's maximum speed for slower, okay? Because of course, minimum speed, we want 0. So there's a way to create these classifications. We have the basic ones built in there, and you can add more if you need to. So how classifications will work is you'll get a vehicle. A vehicle will drive by our building. Now that's not an alert. Vehicle's going to drive down this road. They're going to drive down the road in front of our building, even though it's speed limit's marked 25. I think I've seen them going 75 miles an hour. So that could have been an exaggeration, but not much of one. So hold on one second. Sorry, folks. All right. So that's how the classification works. Okay. And so now we're going to talk about creating a rule in the camera. So you can use, if you're on the network directly with the camera. So again, when we're doing these installations, we recommend the corporate network going to one, I call it a NIC card, one Ethernet port on the NVR with its own network connection, and then another network connection, which is the camera network. And so you'd want to be plugged into the camera network and use Chrome, or you can use, as we've seen here, the built-in browser that's in Spectrum. All right, so let's move forward. And we're just going to talk about creating a rule here real quick. And so you go in, you add a rule, and you decide what you want to accomplish here. So this happens to be a loitering rule. So maybe two cars parked, or maybe some employees are over there hanging out in the parking lot all the time, and you want them not to be loitering in that location, or it's behind the building or in front of the building, and you can create these areas. So each area will be assigned a different color. Okay. And each rule will be assigned a different color, so you can go in and actually see. It'll say loitering, but my yellow rule is here. I want to modify that one. And then you can set your threshold by seconds. So they're going to go to less seconds. Maybe for loitering, you want a higher number of seconds, like more than a minute. You can then turn on your object filter and decide what you want this to detect. Do you want it loitering, like more of a vehicle stop, or do you want persons, or only detect a group of people? So one person can be out there and other ones. And then we have these, you don't have to fill these out, by the way. This is secondary events if you want the events to come directly from the camera. But because we have all these settings in Spectrum, you don't have to worry about these settings down here. So we've got set up our filter, we've set up our loitering area, and now we can go on. So that's one rule, okay? Then, of course, we can set up a tailgating rule. So if people or vehicles get too close together, we can go in, again, click add. Go tailgating. It'll give you your area where if things are passing there too close together, you can do it again. Better for access control in fronts and doors, but we're just giving you sort of a demonstration. You could also, though, have people who drive horribly, and you want to say, hey, you don't have your cars too close together in the parking lot, causes accidents in our parking lot. But again, you can use it for access control, cars, vehicles, parking areas, stuff like that for tailgating. Okay, so we've created a rule, we've calibrated the camera, we've set up our frames per second, we've created a few rules. So how does this correspond to Spectrum? Okay, because Spectrum is our go-to product. And as you can see, Spectrum has a lot of great features, has smart search. You can make the screen anytime you want. You can create zoom windows. You can display a large number of cameras. I mean, these are all 4 and 5 megapixel cameras. Panoramic camera that's 21 megapixel, and so on. So Spectrum does a lot. So how does IVA and Spectrum marry together? So first off, the IVA and Spectrum allows you to see in Spectrum the classifications and your areas you've created. Okay, so you've created these areas. So you created an area. This is a non-detection zone, because I didn't want this palm tree and this tree over here and mystery clouds that might take a certain shape that it would detect. Okay, so that's a non-detect area. This is an intrusion area. Any object that goes through here will be tagged as an intrusion, but I can set it up as only a person walking through here is a problem. And then this area, again, I have the motion detection set in Spectrum. You're going to see objects in here, but it's not going to detect or an alert on it. This is my only alert zone. Okay, hope that makes sense. All right, so we're going to go in to Spectrum. We're going to go to camera rules, maybe. Come on, there we go, Paul. And we're going to create a rule. Again, I'm going to get to a position where I can pause this. So in Spectrum, when you create an analytic event, come here, you choose the camera you want for the analytic event. Okay, if any camera is highlighted in red, that means you can't get analytics from it. Okay, so just keep that in mind. There's a lot of manufacturers' cameras, they obviously don't have analytics in them, and so they don't work. We have some older cameras that don't have analytics in them, so they're not gonna work. So, but it'll tell you. So now we have abandoned vehicles. So we've got, abandoned objects, enter, exit, disappear, line cross, logical rules. So any of these rules can be applied. And again, we'll continue on. So we've got an alert called stopped. And then we're going to go over to our choices. I can put a comment on here. I think my comment was Yeah, car or truck just stopped in front of the building. So these are all the events that can happen on that analytic one. And keep in mind, it doesn't have to be the only one. So I can create a bookmark. I can send a mobile notification or an email or both. I can play a sound. I can do a desktop notification, and I can force, let's say, a layout to open up. Okay, so let's say I had 10 cameras on the screen. I just wanted to see that one because it's an alert. It's a vehicle stop. Maybe there's supposed to be no vehicles in the area. Pops up with a notification. So you can do all these, and you can do multiple ones on one alert. So just keep that in mind, that you're not stuck going, oh, what do I do? I got one alert on this thing. What else can I do? I can execute a PTZ preset. It happens to be 10 feet from that camera is a PTZ camera. I could tell it to go to preset number 7, and then that camera will go over there and zoom in on that particular area that I was worried about in my analytics. I can have it make a sound, write to log. We can do a lot of different stuff with this, and multiple off one event. So here, I think I just have it create a bookmark, and then I choose a camera. Okay, so there might be more than one camera associated with that area. So it creates that event on both those cameras, and I'm done. So that created my first analytic event with that camera from the analytics. So let's say you wanted to display these detection zones. You literally do a right mouse button click, and I'll play that again because I tend to do stuff fast. Do a right mouse button click, and you go objects and frame, and then you can go in and see your detection area, see what's going by, okay? Or you can go over to the side here and click objects, and anything associated with that thing, objects with like that, will be pulled up, and the objects will be these yellow items or green items in your, I'm sorry, yellow items in your timeline. All right. So again, got a vehicle going by. Now that's not an alert. That's just detecting a vehicle. That's a truck. So on. So you can create your things, see what's going on with it. Maybe you're getting some inaccuracies. The camera got bumped or something like that, or someone went in because this is our demo system, changes the focal length of the camera, and you don't get as good a detection. You can go in and look at it and say, okay, I want to fix that. So a lot of different items in here you can do. So now let's see, let's go to the, no, there we go. So what you can do with this to increase the accuracy is what's called logical rules. And what logical rules are the ability to stack your rules, your events, one on top of the other. So you can have it. So I have create my logical rule, and then I select any rules I created. So in this one, I got intrusion, line cross, stopped. I might have loitering. I might have person detected and loitering, stuff like that. So I create my rules, and then I can stack them together. So this way, if I am sending someone an alert to their phone, they're not getting just person detected because maybe a tree limb fell that was the size of a person momentarily, and it said that. But that person was detected, came in there, and they were hanging around for a while, hanging around, walking around. Maybe they were hanging around for more than a minute, and that creates the alert. Maybe in a warehouse, secured warehouse, safe area, stuff like that. So again, I can just stack them here. So we'll go through, select my rules. We're going to select IVA line cross. Maybe there's a couple of seconds in between. I think you can set it for 60. Give it a name, and then you can put that into Spectrum. So you go analytics, choose your camera, choose your type of rule. So in case we're going to look at logical rule, again, put in a comment and then choose what you want it to do. Do you want it to bookmark, send a notification, pop up on a desktop, make the client jump to full screen? Who is it sent to? Is it all administrators? Is it just a particular person? Maybe 2 people. So, when you have something like that, then you can have something like this, where you have a vehicle drive into a parking lot, crosses a line and goes into an area maybe it's not supposed to do, or it's waiting in that area, and it'll automatically pop out to your mobile client. So you can have a mobile notification go out to someone, and I'm not going to say it's instantaneous, but it is almost instantaneous. You can count maybe to 5, and that thing is on your way. The way we have the mobile notification set up is really good. And as you can see on the screen, I'm forcing the IVA detection to show up. So I'm saying intrusion and line cross creates my event. All righty. So in here, though, what we're looking at is a little lower resolution than probably what you're used to in Spectrum, because we're actually showing you this on the second stream rather than the first stream. But you can also see it on the first stream by just saying, I want to see all the objects detected. So along with sending you guys direct notification, no email server needed, you can also, if you want, see the areas, detections, and the object info. So I've got my intrusion area here. See, I walked around it, but it still says, a little tough to see because this is from an iPhone, person walked over to that vehicle. Okay. Maybe this is a valet parking area and only certain people are allowed in it. And it, detected a random person, maybe past the time when someone was supposed to be in there, and you can create an alert on that. So that's all the different things you can do with the cameras. And I know that there is a lot more. So one of the other things I would want to do is I want to take you around a little bit around our website. Okay. So our website, you can go to, and that's you want to learn more about DW Spectrum. So you can go on it. You can go to our Spectrum page. Sorry, there we go. Got a little messed up there. Sorry. Or I don't know what happened there. And then you can go to the IVA section and either learn more about the cameras, go to a specific product page. I want a ball camera. I want a bullet camera. I want a dome camera. What the different IVA and IVA plus, what it means to you. Okay. And then for more information, we've got our DW University page. So you go to the DW University tab or the University tab up here, and we'll bring you to this page. And we do have our online learning, which we're going to expand and expand our certification for analytics. We also have videos on how to add loitering, how to add tailgating, how to add this, how to add that, how to do a logical rule. So we have all that online. We're all, of course, going to post this webinar. We also have our case studies and things like that. But also, if you go to the product page, and we've made big improvements to this, and we're going to have a webinar on this. This is one of our new servers. If the camera has a certification or information we think is very helpful for you, like it's got a Xeon processor in it, or it's UL listed and it's NDAA compliant, all that stuff, we have that available now. And again, we're making improvements to the website all the time, so it's easier to find, easier to see what OS is on it. You can do Windows Server, you can do Windows 10 and Linux Ubuntu on these, and they've got a 5-year on-site warranty. So anyway, just something we're going to go over in a future date, but I wanted to show you the information we're having on our web page. So as this was quicker than I thought, we're going to go straight to Q&A.